A moment of silence for Science Boy. I'm sorry, Science Boy. It had to be this way. Standing here, I realize. Right, so... what was the other one? 6. We have to go through 6. Door 6. This is such a short game, god damn. Why is this game so short? I don't understand what's going on. Why is this lady got really big titties? And why is this girl hair so fucking big and red? I don't understand. Why is this guy's hair white? I don't know. I got no idea. You know, that's a good question. I don't know what the fuck's going on. I'm just pushing buttons and shit, man. You know, and shit be going from red to green, so I guess I'm doing something right. After a thought, Junpei decided that she had to be nervous about being locked up in such a small space alone with a boy. In a way, it was kinda cute. Very demure, you could say, he thought. Still, even though it wasn't exactly room in the elevator, they weren't going to be pressed up against one another. At least, they didn't have to. Oh yeah. Still, it was making her nervous. Junpei couldn't help but think how innocent she was and how hard it made his dick. Come on, let's go, sugar tits. Again, he stepped toward the elevator. And again, he felt himself restrained. I said, wait a minute. Why? Aren't you afraid, Jumpy? Afraid of what? Well, I've never... You know... She never been in an elevator with a man alone before? Even so, she still seemed awfully alarmed. I might get wet. What? What? Down there, I get soaking wet. Well, I mean, of course you would. That's the way it works, right? I mean, I've never heard of anyone getting soaking wet somewhere else. That's true, Junpei. You don't mind? Mind what? Getting wet. Well, I don't know. I think I might like it. Gosh, Jumpy, you're so brave. Really? I mean, well, I kind of think any guy would do the same thing, you know? What happens, happens, right? You know, you just gotta live in the moment. All that business. If you get the chance, you just gotta go for it. That's what a man's supposed to do, I guess. Wow, you're so cool, Jumpy. I really admire you. Well, that doesn't seem like the sort of thing you ought to admire someone for. I'm really scared. Yeah, me too, Junchet. I mean, like you said, you've never done it before. Yes. So I don't think I'll be able to last very long, and then it'll be over. Over? Yes. I'll go to heaven. Heaven? Feels kind of like you're floating in space, and your mind gets all fuzzy, like when you pass out. At least that's what I heard from people who've experienced it. Oh, right, yeah, I've heard that too. Although I don't think it's the same thing for guys. What? Huh? But it would happen to men too, wouldn't it? It would happen to anyone. Once it gets into your body, the same thing happens to everyone. You can't fight it. Well, I mean, usually it doesn't go inside the man. I mean, generally. Yes, it does. It always does. Especially when I do it. Well, eventually, well, it's not like you have any choice. Your body will force you to swallow some of it eventually. Oh, hey, Jumpy. Oh, what are you trying to do to me? Nothing. I'm not going to do anything to you. I'm just saying that's what happens. It's a psychological reaction to what you're experiencing. Was that how it really happened? It occurred to Junpei that perhaps that was how it worked. Perhaps he'd been mistaken all these years. Had he misunderstood life so gravely? The thought terrified him. June seemed to be entirely oblivious to Junpei's mounting confusion and terror. I know most men probably have larger lungs, but Even then, I don't think you could hold your breath for 20 or even 10 minutes. Eventually, you'd have to breathe, and then the water would get into your lungs. Once that happens, your body won't be able to get oxygen anymore, and you'll start to feel that floaty feeling as you pass out. Oh. Well. Jumpy's such a fucking turd. Right. Let's get back to solving puzzles. The number door 6. Are they talking about drowning? Someone was like this last time, man. We got jumpies in the chat. Wait, Jun-chan. You're not really talking about sex, are you? No. Alright, so this is where we find Snake, blown up. What's curious is that his bracelet stayed on his body. Same with the 9th man's, but Lotus's went missing. Why is that? And when the killer killed us, they didn't take our bracelet. It can't be for collection purposes. They must have needed a digital root for something. But what? For door 9? Or for something else? Well, that's just crazy. Yeah, I don't think I should have said that. Right. Let me just check again. It was door 6. Them big old titties with boots in. Right. Door 6. Man, we're blazing for this game. We're like nearly finished it. Oh, is this the one with the coal and shit? Okay, Janie's already tired, so we're gonna like blitz this one real quick and then just call it son once we get that fucking fairy shit. Jun-chan. Time to jump out the cave. Alright, so let's try and remember how we did this again. We needed something for that, and then the coal came down. I think I just edited it. Does that still look okay? Because I think I messed with the screen a bit. I'm sorry. Good job, genius, you broke it. God, you're so fucking stupid. You should call you fucking stupid. That's never gonna get old. It's like a part of our fucking history now, that word. With that, he turned and walked away from the winch. What the hell? Why couldn't I skip that? That's weird. Okay, so this is new. Junpei and Ace followed him. You know, speaking of experiments, Santa Sony stopped. There was this experiment some scientists did with rats. First, they took a squarish C-shaped tank and filled it with enough water that the rats could drown. The tank had two exits, A and B. Exit A is pitch black, so dark even a rat can't see anything. Exit B, however, is electrified, which means the rats can't lead through it. So what would a rat do if it was put in a situation? Which exit would the rat choose? There was a moment of silence after Santa posed a question, and then Ace responded. B, of course. The rat has no way of knowing that exit B is electrified. Exactly. The rat goes to exit B. Of course, like I said, it's electrified, which means the rat can't get out that way. So, after a lot of trial and error, the rat finally finds exit A. I can't say that's very interesting or relevant. It's simply the story of a laboratory experiment. You're right, it isn't very interesting. Yet. These scientists repeated these experiments over and over, using hundreds of different rats over several generations. Let me guess. And eventually, all of them started going through A instead of B their first time. This produced some surprising results. With each generation of rats, they took less time to find the correct exit. Eventually, a rat was put in a tank who instantly chose exit A without even attempting to go to exit B. But even that doesn't mean that wasn't the most impressive thing. The same experiment was conducted in another laboratory far from the original one with the same results. No, on second thought the results weren't really the same. The rats in the second experiment began the trials with significantly faster times than the first rats in the initial experiment. These rats were not related to the rats used in the first experiment and had never even come in contact with them, and yet they all easily found their way to exit A, as though they already knew. What did it mean? Were they communicating in a way that the human eye could not perceive? Are you suggesting something like telepathy? They were passing information to one another through some undetectable medium? Ace looked skeptical. Santa snorted at him. How the hell would I know? I'm not any kind of scientist. I don't know what made him do that. But I do know that story's true. And if you got another explanation, I'd sure love to hear it. Come on, let's get going. There's still a lot here we haven't checked out. And we gotta get the hell out of here before June passes out. Without waiting for a response, he turned around and started walking. Junpei, however, wasn't quite ready to leave the topic alone. Hey, wait! There's something I want to ask you. Santa stopped and turned around. Why did they use that tank for the experiment? Huh? Well, I mean, it seems like you can conduct the same experiment without the water. They could have just used a dry box, you know. If they needed to motivate the rats to escape, they could have, I don't know, put some bait by exit B or something? I mean, do they really have to make it so that the rats can drown? Huh, I guess that's similar to our situation as well. Santa gave a grim bark of a laugh. You know the word emergency comes from the same root as the word as emerge? You ever think about that? Well, an emergency is something urgent, often something dangerous. And to emerge means to sort of come out or appear or rise out of something else. So what's going to emerge in an emergency? Inspiration. Inspiration? Yeah. Think about it. When the chips are down, either you crack or your mind focuses and pulls up what you need. So, in an emergency, your real potential emerges? Is that what you're saying? Yeah. That's why the rats had to drown. They had to be in danger. There had to be an emergency for inspiration to emerge. Junpei suddenly felt cold. The back of his head was aching, and his stomach felt strange. Now if we think about that, that's very similar, isn't it? We're put in a situation which is an emergency, So our inspiration has to emerge for us to focus and pull something together for us to survive. Now, and it's also got everything to do with this is related to water, isn't it? I mean, when you think about it, all the rats... Actually, no, wait. There's only one thing where water isn't connected with that, so that doesn't make sense. Forget that theory. Alright, I don't think I need to turn the wheel anymore. Alright, let's bounce, bounce, bounce! Okay, so... yeah, sweet. It's your toe, Mountain! How did I get to the back of that place again? I'm trying to remember. Yeah, I want to go to the back. To the back, please? No, okay, well, back you then. That's okay. I need to go to the back to put the coal in. Can I go to the back, please? I'd very much appreciate it if you let me go to the back. No, asshole, you can't go to the back. Alright then, well. Oh, well.
Shut up! You just turned around, Jumpy.
Okay, did we put the... yeah, we did. It's blacked out. Okay, alright. Yeah, up here. And then up here, click that. Shrine. Alright, let's get out of this room. Sweet. You found it! God, Jumpy. You're such a cool guy. How's your jungle fever doing, Joe?
Shut up, motherfucker!
Huh. Bit of information about his family again. So before we learned a bit about his sister, we didn't have any parents. They bought it in an accident when we were still kids. So I had to be like her dad. And that meant that I bought her Christmas presents every year. On Christmas Eve, I'd leave the present next to her pillow. The next morning, she'd come running into my room with this big smile. Look, look! Santa left me a present. Santa got me that doll I really wanted. I'm so glad that he got the letter I wrote. I was the one who told her to write those letters. I say, write down something you want, and mail it to Santa. The address I gave was somewhere in Northern Europe. That doesn't exist. Anyway, she'd write the letter, and stamp it, and send it out. And a few days later, it'd show up back in our mailbox, marked address unknown. I'd open the letters before she figured out they'd been sent back. Once I had the letter, I'd go around to a couple stores, with some money I'd saved up over the year, and buy the stuff she asked for. It took a lot of saving, but I managed to buy her presents every year. Junpei was silent. He could think of nothing to say. June looked down, uncomfortable. The wall next to him suddenly groaned. Either he hadn't heard the sound, or didn't care. Santa kept talking. But one year, her letter was different. She didn't write a list of toys she wanted, or anything like that. Instead, it said, "I don't want any presents this year. Instead, I want you to make my wish come true. My wish is that we'll be happy like this for a really, really long time." But I couldn't make that wish come true. Some Santa I am. Santa looked sad. Junpei had never seen him look sad before. He wasn't sure he liked it. Junpei decided it was probably best not to ask Santa any more questions. But what happened? June glanced up at Santa quickly as she spoke. He answered, but only with an effort. She died. She was killed. 9 years ago. Oh man. So it is true that everything we have in common with these contestants is 9. The number 9. Something significant happens in our life at 9 that connects us all together. Fortunately with Santa, it was the passing of his only family. There was nothing Junpei could say. His heart felt like a great lump of lead. June bit her lip and looked away. Her face was pale. Alright, let's go. Santa stood up suddenly, his downcast demeanor gone. He shoved the picture back into his pocket and headed back up the stairs, taking them 2 at a time. Oh, whoops. Wow, dude, okay. That was pretty heavy. Oh, not the fucking push master dick licking 5000. Detective
Fucking Junpei, honey king.
Right, first let's get the 9 cards. How many we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Shit, missing one.
It's electrified.
I think we already checked that one. There we go. Just then. What? Junpei heard a noise. He spun around just in time to see June collapse in front of the fence? What the hell? June, are you okay? She did not respond. Junpei spun back around to face Ace. I'm sorry, I gotta go check on her. You do the box thing, alright? Huh? Just put the cards in the boxes. I'm counting on you. He shoved the cards into Ace's hands and ran off toward June. Are you alright? What happened? Junpei called out to her as he ran. As he arrived, June was climbing to her feet with Santa's help. I'm sorry. I'm fine. I just tripped. Don't give me that. Now's not the time. But it's true. I tripped over a box. Junpei put his palm on his forehead. Her temperature was much the same as it had been the last time he checked. She wasn't hot like she had been before, but she was still warm. Her fever wasn't completely gone. Now, I saw her fall. I think she really did just trip on something, you know? Junpei would have been more willing to agree if June hadn't needed quite so much help standing up. Still, to fall down like that, I think she's probably still a little messed up. June was doing her best to busy herself brushing dust off her dress. Her smile looked a little embarrassed, and her face was a bit flushed. But she did look a great deal better than she had. Still. Alright, well, let's get out of here as fast as we can, so we can get you to a hospital. Ah, I don't think it's anything that serious. I just need a little medicine and some sleep, and I'll be fine. Medicine. Medicine, huh? Well, if we could get in touch with anyone outside, I bet Ace could swing that for you, easy. Ace? Why? Huh? Don't you know? He's the president of a pharmaceutical company. Really? Cradle Pharmaceutical is the name, I think. Their flagship product is an anesthetic drug called Soparil? Soparil? Junpei couldn't shake the feeling that he'd heard about Soparil before. Santa continued. Soparil? Huh. Is an anesthetic that is gaseous at room temperature, similar to nitrous oxide. Well then. It takes only a few seconds to spread, and even a small amount is very effective. For those reasons, it found widespread acceptance with police and military forces in numerous countries. It was an effective crowd suppressant and room clearer, and is practical, ethical, and humane. Gaseous at room temperature. Was this Soparil used to drug us all? Zero broke into our housing and threw this canister that emitted this white gas that knocked us out in seconds. Ace purposely, supposedly, injected himself with this very same drug, knocking him out. It didn't knock him out, however. He was sleepy. He was groggy for a very long time. He didn't actually pass out in front of us. And this stuff is meant to be extremely potent. No way would he remain conscious. Still, he pulled that stunt, and in the meantime, when we split up to go in separate rooms, he was alone. He was on his own, unsupervised. I wonder what this could mean. Developed 6 years prior, it was made from the extracts of several different roots. It became popular almost as soon as it was made public, with many governments placing large orders. Demand for Soparil skyrocketed, and as it did, so did the stock of Cradle Pharmaceuticals. Why do you know all of this? Santa's information was interesting, but Junpei couldn't help but feel a little suspicious. Santa's reply was blunt and simple. I heard it from the old man himself. From Ace? When? By the number 4 door, at the central stairway. Funny! Now, why would he mention that? Why would he make people aware of that? Because as soon as I found out about that, I made those kind of connections, or at least possibilities, as to what could have happened to us involving that Soparil drug. But then again, even though his pharmaceutical company made the drug, that doesn't mean to say that he was involved in the gassing of us. Like he said, stocks and interest and demand skyrocketed. Anyone could have got their mitts on this thing. Zero, who had no ties to perhaps this pharmaceutical company, could have just bought this shit and used it in his scheme. It doesn't necessarily mean Ace is involved. It just means there are some connections leading to it, not necessarily guilty ones. Still, they're connections nonetheless to suspicions that already exist, which doesn't put him in a good light. When we were searching for the second classroom, remember how Snake 7 and you went to door 5? I asked him what he did for a living. He said he ran his own company. After that, he just started talking, and I guess it just came up, you know? Are you worried about something? No. Nothing. As he spoke, Junpei looked over toward Ace. You seem to be having difficulty with the 9 boxes. Why would he be having difficulty? It's simple enough. You just allocate the card to their number. What the hell is he doing? He turned back to June and Santa. June, don't push yourself, alright? Santa, could you take care of her? Yeah, sure. He gave them both a short nod, then turned and headed back toward Ace. What are you doing? Ace's back was to him as Junpei approached. The older man turned around to look at him. His face was pale and covered in sweat. What happened? Nothing. My vision has gotten rather blurry. I think perhaps because of the fatigue. I can't see very well at the moment. What can't you see well? These pictures. Trace your minds back to when we were in the room in the laboratory with Lotus. She mentioned how the mind does not manifest thoughts. Instead, it just displays them. Your brain is just a monitor for your thoughts, okay? Your thoughts manifest somewhere else inside you. She said, what if the brain was to be damaged in some way? Your body, the thoughts would still be there. However, because your brain is damaged, you cannot display them, so read them correctly. She then gave examples as to how this could affect the situation. She gave 3 examples. She said people who aren't able to speak, people who aren't able to see far, and people who can't distinguish faces. Now, Ace is having a hard time with seeing things, but more importantly, he can't make out the faces in these pictures. What's going on? Is that going to spread to us? In this unperceived telepathy communal way? This could get really bad. Ace held the cards out to Junpei, splayed out in the shape of a fan. I don't care to admit it, but I may be developing presbyopia. Growing old is a difficult thing. He made the best attempt he could at a deprecating smile, but his face was flushed and his lips were pale and drawn. At any rate, I'll leave the rest to you. I'm feeling awfully tired, so if you don't mind, I'd like to just rest for a bit. He shoved the cards into Junpei's hands and walked quickly away. Junpei looked at him quizzically. How could simply looking at cards have tired him out? Junpei looked down at the cards in his hands. All of the pictures were quite clear, and each person easily recognizable. Was Ace's vision truly so bad? Or could he just not distinguish the faces? But if it wasn't, what had made him so uncomfortable? That was when Junpei remembered what he'd heard from Lotus much earlier. Prosopagnosia. So this is about the ability to not distinguish faces that we just talked about. Well, put simply, it means a condition where the mind can't distinguish between human faces. In other words, my face would look like the same as Clover's, or even yours. So they can't remember faces, which is how most people recognize each other. That means that people with that have trouble recognizing even people they're close to. Maybe he's got that. Junpei took another look at Ace. He sat at the base of the stairs looking quite depressed. It was reasonable, of course, that he'd feel that way. If he really did have that, there was no doubt it was a depressing and painful experience. Still, Junpei didn't feel like patting him on the shoulder and telling him everything would be alright would help that much. Still, Junpei felt perhaps it was best he keep Ace's condition to himself, at least for the time being. Oh well. Doing his best to clear his mind for the task at hand, he turned back toward the boxes. It was time to solve the puzzle of the 9 boxes. 9 cards with pictures. Blah 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 blah. We already did that. We get some pins. Yada da. Sweet.